What if the path to enlightenment wasn't found in temples or textbooks, but in dance, ink, and theater? Today, we're stepping into the world of The Witch of Portobello, a story that blurs the line between magic and mysticism, and might just change how you see your own journey.
To understand the world, you must first know yourself. But how do we discern what is real? Embark on this journey to discover more about your real potential. Uncover the mystery in the tarot.
A few weeks ago, I came across a video on the magical aspect of Romania and shared it in a discussion with some friends. And subsequently, a recommendation was made for everybody to read The Witch of Portobello by the author Paulo Coelho. He's probably most famous for his breakthrough bestseller novel, The Alchemist, which shot to stardom and placed Coelho on the map for many in the English-speaking world. The Witch of Portobello is a riveting page-turner, full of intense experiences, mystical revelations, applicable life advice, and surprise moments, all the way through till the end. The story chronicles the life of the main protagonist / agitator, Athena, as told from the perspective of those who knew her personally. It is told in a disjointed, kaleidoscopic way, with each person sharing how much of a profound impact their contact with Athena had until the complete picture all comes together in the end. The narrative of the story is very much a heroine's journey and a story of gradual degrees of enlightenment, and it quite reminds me of the story of Siddhartha, written by Hermann Hesse, which is of course the pseudo-biographical account of the life of Siddhartha Gautama, who became the Buddha. The book, The Witch of Portobello, gives Athena a similar trajectory, where she attains fragments of wisdom through her somewhat nomadic or transient lifestyle, where she fully immerses herself in a spiritual tradition of wherever she's located at the moment. She learns things like dance, calligraphy, theater, all things which fall under the umbrella of the visual or performing arts, and which in today's fragmented Western culture are not typically seen as spiritual paths from the perspective of the masses, but all of which have long, deep, and persistent historical ties to spirituality. Just to give you an idea of what I mean about the gems hidden within the book, nowadays there's a lot of talk about liminal spaces, and in art school, one of the first major lessons that we learned was to pay attention to the negative spaces in the composition. The spaces in between the subject where people don't tend to pay much attention to. But those are the spaces that actually define the composition or the sculpture. That philosophy is also echoed within the pages of The Witch of Portobello, and there is a big deal made about the sacredness of blank spaces. We have the quote, "The music only exists because the pauses exist, and sentences only exist because blank spaces exist." It's profound statements like this that really make the work very meaningful. What also resonated for me was her sojourn through theater where she met Andrea. Whilst all of Athena's travels took her through various paths, each of which I interpret as being modes of how illumination is transmitted, such as the written form of calligraphy, the kinesthetic form of dance, it is the whole ritual drama element of theater that seems like a fascinating point of interest, because it sings of how aspects of the Western esoteric tradition have been taught for centuries. And it is also where she met her disciple, Andrea. In my opinion, The Witch of Portobello is not just the story of Athena, but also the story of initiatic transmission to her disciple Andrea. If we look at the naming conventions, it's quite interesting. If you've seen the movie The Matrix, you know that Keanu Reeves' character, Neo, was given the name Mr. Anderson before becoming self-aware. Anderson literally means son of man. Likewise, the character Andrea, who becomes Athena's disciple, is the feminine form of Andrew from the Greek andros, which one could take as a representation of mankind. Athena, the goddess, passes the light, figuratively speaking, to Andrea, mankind, in the novel, and the way that the story unfolds, you definitely get the sense that this is also Andrea's story of becoming just as much as it is Athena's. Part of what makes the story so compelling is the whole mystery and allure of the main character, Athena. But what is it about this character that makes her so captivating? And what distinguishes her, or people like her, from being subjectively just a physically attractive person or a talented, popular person with celebrity appeal? Let's dive into it. Yes, sure, celebrities have charisma and can be magnetic, and when it comes to social dynamics, pheromones attract or repel. But what underlying current can destabilize equilibrium or trigger psychic phenomena to erupt other than magic? If you've ever experienced anything like this, you will understand. And Coelho does a good job of articulating some reasonable scenarios that illustrate this while staying planted in terrain that most people will be able to understand. If you've ever encountered the kind of individual such as Athena and seen how their presence can manifestly change the atmosphere in a space and have a visceral and pronounced effect on people, you'll definitely understand. These types of people are high-resonance catalysts whose mere presence shifts the atmosphere. They have a palpable magnetism. The irritation or infatuation they evoke is not charisma in the celebrity sense, it is field entrainment, coherence shock. Their lives often appear chaotic because the coherence that they carry destabilizes false equilibrium. People love or hate them for this, not because of who they are, but because of what their field does. I don't think that for Coelho that this was simply a fictional novel. I think Coelho was pulling from a lived experience. This book is definitely worth reading, so without giving away any spoilers, here's a quick summary. The story of Athena follows a timeline that many who are familiar with religious narratives will recognize. Her biological parents came from different worlds. She was born out of wedlock in Romania, and as an infant, she was given up for adoption. She was given a new name, Shireen Khalil, and moved to a new land, Lebanon, with her adoptive parents, and lived an idyllic life until civil unrest and turmoil set in, at which point she and her family became refugees. From an early age, she exhibited extrasensory attunement abilities, which set her apart as different. As a refugee, she and her family moved to the West, specifically London, where she received a formal and stable education and religious upbringing. We are led to believe that if she remained on that path, she would have been a very devout exemplar. But her ability to discern the truth ultimately put her at odds with organized religion, which caused her to assume a new name, and in so doing came to more and more take on the attributes of that name, setting her off on a soul quest where she became enlightened, traveled the world, reconnected with her mother in a pilgrimage to her ancestral homeland of Romania, and she returned to the West and shared her light with others. Her unorthodox methods and massive cultural impact attracted unwanted attention from traditionalists who wanted to protect the status quo, which ultimately put her life in danger. And that, in a nutshell, is the story of Athena. The Witch of Portobello is more than a novel. It's a transmission. It's an invitation to recognize the sacred in the mundane, to challenge conformity, and to see the divine spark not just in Athena, but in yourself. If you've read the book, I'd love to hear what resonated most for you. And if you haven't yet, maybe now is the time to pick it up. Until next time, stay luminous and keep walking your path. I'm Wayne from Rodney Illustrations, creator of the Global Fusion Intuitive Tarot Deck, published by US Games Systems, and the forthcoming Thalion project. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your time. Please like and share this video with others.
To understand the world, you must first know yourself. But how do we discern what is real? Embark on this journey to discover more about your real potential. Uncover the mystery in the tarot.